They say a woman in corporate America needs thick skin. But when a man twice your age leans over your desk, calls you sweetheart in front of your entire team, and smirks like he owns the place, sometimes thick skin isn't the answer. Sometimes revenge is. Hi, I'm Arya. Yes, I'm the girl who made our VP of sales cry during a human resources meeting. And no, I don't regret a second of it. You're about to hear how a little word, used the wrong way, can start an avalanche. This is a story of workplace harassment, whispered warnings, backstabbing colleagues, family pressure, and one unforgettable HR showdown. If you've ever been underestimated, mocked, or reduced to a pet name when you've earned your title, this story's for you. So grab some popcorn. Like, share, and subscribe because this tale is about to heat up. And trust me, karma wears heels. I didn't move cross-country, spend 4 years at NYU, and rack up $92,000 in student debt just to be called sweetheart during a budget meeting. It was a Wednesday. That kind of day when the coffee machine's broken, the Wi-Fi is iffy, and the AC's blasting cold enough to store frozen peas. I was giving a quarterly report, the kind that took 2 weeks and 3 anxiety attacks to prepare. And just as I was breaking down marketing ROIs for our new skincare line, he interrupted me. Sweetheart, do you even know what ROI stands for? He said, laughing as if he were asking something playful. The whole conference room froze. My manager, Marla, gave an awkward smile and pretended she didn't hear it. Chad from finance looked away. Me? I smiled too. But not because it was funny. Because I just decided he was going down. His name was Todd, Vice President of Sales. Late 50s, Rolex on the wrist, thick-rimmed glasses he never cleaned, and that cologne that announced his presence 10 seconds before he walked in. He had a reputation. Every intern had a nickname, every woman got a wink, and every complaint mysteriously disappeared. Until me. I didn't react. Not yet. I knew better than to challenge a predator in his own territory. Instead, I started a folder on my desktop titled Todd. Hidden behind 4 layers of innocuous file names, I began collecting every email, every Slack message, every offhand comment I could remember. I jotted down witness names, dates, times, everything. The problem? Todd was smart. He didn't leave bruises. Just paper cuts. Like the time he told an intern to bring the boys some coffee in the middle of a department meeting. Or the time he whispered to me during a presentation, "Try smiling, you look prettier when you do." I talked to Marla once. Just once. Her eyes flicked to the closed door behind me, then she leaned in and whispered, "Arya, if you want to survive here, just don't take it personally." That was when I realized I'd be fighting this alone. When I told my mom about Todd over dinner, she frowned. "Maybe he didn't mean it that way, sweetie." I nearly dropped my fork. "He called me sweetheart at work." "That's not illegal," my older sister Dana added, sipping wine. "You're not going to ruin your career over a stupid word, are you?" "I'm not ruining anything," I snapped. "I'm holding someone accountable." My dad stayed silent. That silence said more than words. He came from a generation where men like Todd ran everything, from offices to households, and women just adapted. So no, I didn't get support from home. But I didn't need it. That night, I ordered a pocket-sized voice recorder from Amazon. I also started wearing a discreet button pin on my lapel, one with a hidden camera. If no one was going to believe me, I'd give them something they couldn't ignore. Her name was Priya. New hire. UX designer. And she was the first person to whisper, "You too?" We were standing in line for coffee when she asked, "Has Todd ever called you like a pet name?" I almost choked on my oat milk lot. She'd been there 3 weeks and already had her own folder of Todd moments. Together, we started comparing notes, recording encounters, and slowly building a timeline. Priya was quiet, polite, and had a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Not that Todd would ever guess. She became my co-conspirator. The Watson to my Sherlock. We weren't just planning a complaint. We were planning a takedown. It sure didn't make it easy. The first time I submitted a report, it mysteriously vanished. I followed up only to be told it had never been received. The second time I CC'd myself, Priya, and a legal hotline I found online. That one stuck. Todd started acting weird. Friendly. Fake friendly. He brought muffins to meetings. Gave me space in presentations. Even started calling me Arya. Too late, Todd. I already had 5 recordings. 3 witnesses. One copy of a group chat where he referred to Priya as the spicy one. But the final straw? He slapped my lower back as I walked past the printer and said, "You work too hard, sweetheart." He didn't know about the camera. It was a Friday. Sunny. Birds chirping. Our usual HR manager, Susan, had called us in, me, Todd, Priya, and Marla. Todd walked in smirking. I walked in with a USB drive. Susan greeted us all like it was just another boring compliance check. But when I slid the flash drive across the table and said, "You'll want to hear this," the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. He plugged it in and played it. Todd's voice filled the room. "Sweetheart, do you even know what ROI stands for?" Then another clip. "Smile more, you look prettier that way." And finally, the backslap. "You work too hard, sweetheart." I didn't look at Todd. I watched Marla turn white. Susan stopped the audio, leaned back and said, "Mr. Stanford, do you have anything you'd like to say?" Todd. He blinked, swallowed, and cried. The silence after that meeting wasn't peaceful. It was the tense, trembling kind, the one that makes you wonder if the storm is over or just paused. Words spread faster than I expected. Not just that Todd had been confronted, but that he'd cried. In front of HR. In front of me. Some people looked at me like I was a hero. Others like I was a threat. Chad from finance started calling me ma'am. 2 junior associates cornered me in the break room and whispered, "Thank you." We didn't think anyone would actually do it. But not everyone was thrilled. Marla avoided me for 3 days. I caught her in her office one afternoon whispering on the phone with H. Probably trying to cover her own tracks. I didn't care. Because for once I didn't feel alone. When I told my family what happened, I thought they'd finally be proud. Instead, my sister Dana was horrified. "You humiliated a senior executive? You really think that won't follow you?" Mom tried to play mediator. "We're just worried, sweetie. You've worked so hard. Don't throw it away on a vendetta." Vendetta. I laughed. It's called consequences. My dad, of course, didn't say much. Just folded his napkin and left the room. But I didn't need their approval anymore. I had something stronger. Self-respect. For the first time in my career, I'd stood up. Not just for myself, but for every woman too afraid to do so. And the best part? HR was officially launching a company-wide harassment audit. Just when I thought the worst was over, an email arrived from legal. It was cold, clinical, carefully worded. "In light of recent discussions, the company has chosen to address this matter internally. Please refrain from any further public or private commentary to team members, vendors, or media." Translation: "Shut up or we shut you down." I forwarded it to Priya. She sent back a single line. "They're scared." Damn right they were. So I contacted a lawyer. A good one. The kind who doesn't flinch at NDAs or veiled threats. And we crafted a letter of our own. It reminded the company of my right to speak. It requested an independent review. And it made clear that any attempt at retaliation would result in legal action. I wasn't just playing defense anymore. The tantrums began immediately. Todd's allies, mostly older men in middle management, started pushing back. One accused me of making the office hostile. Another said I just didn't get the culture. But guess what? Younger women started speaking up. Even men. Priya got promoted to senior designer. HR released new anti-harassment guidelines. Training sessions were held. Todd, he went on indefinite leave. When I walked into the cafeteria that Friday, someone had written on the whiteboard, "Thank you, Arya. We saw you." I didn't cry. I just smiled. Because finally, I wasn't the only one. It started with an anonymous envelope. No return address. Just my name written in sharp, slanted letters. Inside was a printed email from 6 years ago. An HR complaint against Todd from another company. The woman's name was Kendra. She detailed nearly identical behavior. Pet names, touching, whispering. And guess what? That company paid her to leave. Todd kept his job. I dug deeper. With the help of my lawyer and some digital breadcrumbs, we tracked down Kendra. She agreed to talk, off the record. What she told me chilled my spine. Todd had done this before. Multiple times. But every time someone pushed back, HR buried it. One woman even dropped her case after her fiancé's job mysteriously got downsized. Todd wasn't just a creep. He was protected. Enabled. Not anymore. The next hit came from home. I got a call from Dana. My sister. He was crying. Arya, I didn't mean to. I didn't know it would be used against you. What are you talking about? I told Mark, my fiancé, about the HR thing. He's friends with Todd. I didn't know he'd pass it along. My stomach sank. So much for family. That week, rumors started swirling at work that I was doing all this for attention. Someone even started calling me Drama Queen Arya in Slack threads. It was ugly. But I didn't break. I couldn't. Too many people were watching now. Too many were depending on me. They tried to push me out. It began subtly. My projects were reassigned. My invitations to high-level meetings vanished. My performance was questioned even though I had the receipts. Then came the ultimatum, a generous severance package in exchange for silence. I laughed. Because what they didn't know was that I wasn't alone anymore. For women, yes, had come forward. Priya was already prepping for a lawsuit. And Kendra? She was ready to go public. They wanted me quiet. I chose louder. We requested a meeting with the board. Not just HR, not legal. The board. I walked in with a folder. Priya walked in with her attorney. Kendra joined via Zoom. We each took a turn. We didn't scream. We didn't cry. We laid out facts. Emails. Recordings. Patterns. Silence followed. Then one board member said, "Why didn't we know this sooner?" And I replied, "Because your system is designed not to know." Todd was officially terminated that Friday. 3 weeks later I resigned. Not because I lost. Because I won. I was offered a higher role, a raise, a public apology. But I didn't want it. I didn't want to build a future on broken ground. Instead, I took Priya with me. We launched our own consulting agency. One focused on corporate accountability, HR reform, and safe workplaces. My last day, someone left flowers on my desk with a note. "You didn't burn the building down. You cleared the mold." I smiled, took a deep breath, and walked out in my red heels. The name of our agency was deliberate. Control plus Alt plus Dale. We built it out of a tiny co-working space with flickering lights and IKEA chairs. But what we lacked in polish, we made up for in fire. Within 2 months, we had our first client, a mid-sized tech company dealing with a bro culture crisis. Then came a financial firm. Then a university. People wanted change. Real change. Not fake workshops with donuts and liability waivers. We helped survivors. We trained leaders. We rewrote HR policies with bite. The best part? Every time we walked into a boardroom together, 2 young women with clipboards and steel in our eyes. Men listened. Even the smug ones. It started as a local story. Then a LinkedIn post. Then the New York Times called. They wanted an interview. So did NPR. So did Forbes. Suddenly, Sweetheartgate was trending. Hashtags popped up. Anonymous women across industries shared their own stories. Some heartbreaking. Some empowering. I told my truth. Not because I wanted fame, but because I wanted accountability. And somewhere in that storm, Todd's name trended too. Not in the way he probably dreamed of. The email came at 2:11 a.m. Subject line, "I'm sorry." It was from Todd. A single paragraph. No excuses. No justification. Just a limp apology that felt like it was written with legal supervision and a glass of scotch. I didn't reply. But I forwarded it to Kendra. She wrote back, "He thinks regret is redemption. Let him sit with it." I agreed. One Sunday, Dana showed up at my door with takeout and teary eyes. "I was wrong," she said. "I didn't get it. I do now." Turns out her new job came with its own Todd. But this time she remembered what I did and she spoke up. They listened. These times are changing. There's people like me, like Priya, like Kendra, we made them change. Exactly 1 year after the Sweetheart incident, I stood on a panel at a women's leadership conference in Chicago. I looked out into the audience and saw rows of strong, curious faces. Survivors. Allies. Leaders. I told them what I've always believed. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep a broken system warm. Sometimes you walk out and build something better. They clapped. Not politely. Loudly. With purpose. And when I stepped off that stage, Priya was waiting backstage holding a cupcake. "We're just getting started," she grinned. And we were. I never expected it. Not in a million years. It arrived via our company's contact form. Subject line, "You don't know me, but I know him. Todd's daughter." She introduced herself gently. Said she was 19. Said she had watched her father build an empire at the expense of every woman around him, including her mother. She had seen him get away with everything. I just wanted to say thank you, she wrote. You didn't just change your company. You changed mine. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I cried. The kind of cry that shakes years off your shoulders. Control plus Alt plus DL exploded. We hired a team, launched a podcast, started consulting for Fortune 500s. With success came scrutiny. Men's rights bloggers called us feminazi enforcers. One article dubbed me the HR executioner. I framed it, because with every insult we got stronger, louder, bolder, and best of all, we were helping women win. One day I got a call from the governor's office. They were forming a statewide commission on workplace equality and wanted me to co-chair it. First I thought it was a prank. Then I realized, this was real. And big. Priya screamed when I told her. You're going to rewrite the rules for real, Ari. I accepted. Because sometimes change starts in a boardroom. And sometimes it starts in a conference room where someone calls you sweetheart. At an industry event, I ran into Marla. She looked older. Tired. Maybe guilt does that to people. She pulled me aside, voice hushed. I should have done more. You should have, I said. She didn't argue. But then she whispered, you scared them. That's why it worked. You didn't just speak up. You were undeniable. It wasn't an apology, but it was the closest I'd get. Late one evening, I sat at my desk, staring at the first slide of a keynote I was scheduled to deliver in DC. The title read, Redefining Power, What Happens When Women Refuse to Shrink. I smiled, because I never set out to be a hero, or an icon, or even a headline. I just didn't want to be called sweetheart, ever again. Turns out, one little word really can start a revolution. The arbitration hearing wasn't just a formality, it was a final act of war. Todd sat across from me with that tired, bitter smirk, but I could see it. His confidence was crumbling like a cheap cracker. The lawyers presented their closing arguments. My counsel, a fierce woman named Cynthia Cruz, stood like a warrior. She didn't just speak facts. He weaponized them. Your Honor, this isn't just about a nickname. It's about a culture that minimized women, that tolerated repeated offenses, that normalized disrespect. And Miss Bennett, Arya, stood up to it. Todd's lawyer slumped like someone had just unplugged his spine. The verdict was swift. The company was liable. So was Todd. Damages would be paid. Public apologies would be issued. He didn't cry this time, but he did go pale, ghost pale. I thought about disappearing after that, starting fresh. But Priya said, not until you speak your truth. So I wrote an open letter. Not just about Todd. Not just about me. About every woman who had ever been called sweetheart, when her name was clearly printed on her badge. The post went viral. Within days, major news outlets picked it up. I got messages from teachers, engineers, nurses, baristas, even women in Congress. And the most unexpected message? From Dana. I was wrong. You deserved better. I'm proud of you. Late one night I heard a knock. It was Todd. I should have slammed the door. But I didn't. Big, small. Not pathetic. Just real. The mask was gone. I lost everything, he said. But I think I needed to. I'm in therapy now. I wanted to say I'm sorry, to you. And thank you, for making me face it. I didn't forgive him that night. But I didn't hate him either. And that, I realized, was my real revenge, healing while he was just starting the work. Months passed. I started a consulting firm with Priya, training companies on workplace equity. Our calendar filled up faster than we could say, non-disclosure agreement. Mom started attending our webinars. Dad stopped calling it office drama, and started asking questions about boundaries at his work. And Dana, she joined us. Quietly but powerfully. For Nora, she said the first time she stood beside me on stage. 1 year later, I stood in the same boardroom where it all started. A new client, a new mission, but the same polished table. The CEO walked in. So Miss Bennett, or can I call you? I raised an eyebrow. He laughed. Right. Arya it is. Damn right. And as I pulled out my laptop, I smiled. Not sweetly, not politely. But with power. Like, share and subscribe if you believe in accountability. Drop a comment below. Have you ever been called something that made your skin crawl? Let's talk about it.